A single mom's secret that no one knew. She clutched the letter in her trembling hands, tears streaming down her face as the weight of her 15-year secret threatened to finally break her. For a decade and a half, Eliza Morgan had built a life of careful lies and half-truths, all to protect the one person who mattered most. But now, as her daughter's graduation approached, the past she'd buried was clawing its way back to the surface. What would happen when everyone discovered what she'd been hiding all these years? If you're feeling drawn into Eliza's world already, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means everything, and there are many more emotional journeys like this one waiting for you. The morning light filtered through the worn curtains of Eliza's modest two-bedroom apartment. At 42, the lines around her eyes told stories of both laughter and hardship. Her daughter, Sophia, now 17 and mere months away from graduating high school, was still asleep in the next room. These quiet moments were precious to Eliza, time to breathe before the day's demands began. 15 years of single motherhood had taught Eliza efficiency. She moved through her morning routine with practiced grace, preparing breakfast while mentally reviewing her schedule. Work at the local library from 9 to 5, then her evening shift at the diner until 10. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills and had allowed her to create a stable life for Sophia. The apartment walls were adorned with Sophia's achievements, academic awards, art projects, and photographs chronicling her growth from a chubby-cheeked toddler to the confident young woman she was becoming. Eliza's chest swelled with pride every time she looked at them. Despite everything, she'd done something right. "Morning, Mom," Sophia mumbled, shuffling into the kitchen with her dark hair twisted into a messy bun. She wore her favorite oversized t-shirt, the one with the logo of the university she hoped to attend in the fall. "Good morning, sweetheart. Sleep well?" Eliza slid a plate of scrambled eggs across the counter. Sophia nodded, reaching for her phone. "Got the email from Mrs. Hernandez about the senior showcase. She wants me to display 3 pieces." "That's wonderful." Eliza beamed. Sophia's artistic talent had blossomed over the years, her paintings capturing emotions with a maturity that belied her age. "Which ones are you thinking of showing?" As Sophia described her ideas, Eliza felt that familiar pang of guilt. Her daughter's talent was undeniable, a gift inherited from her father, though Sophia didn't know that. According to the story Eliza had carefully constructed over the years, Sophia's father had been a kind man who died in an accident before she was born. A simple, clean narrative that protected them both. The truth was far more complicated. After breakfast, Eliza dropped Sophia at school before heading to the library. The familiar smell of books and the quiet atmosphere usually brought her comfort, but today her mind was elsewhere. The letter that had arrived yesterday had shattered her carefully maintained equilibrium. During her lunch break, Eliza retreated to the staff room and pulled the letter from her bag, reading it again though she'd already memorized every word. "Dear Ms. Morgan. *I hope this letter finds you well. My name is Daniel Reeves, attorney at law, representing the estate of Richard Harmon. I regret to inform you of Mr. Harmon's passing last month after a prolonged illness, **. During his final days, Mr. Harmon made several revelations, including the existence of a daughter he never knew. After extensive investigation, we believe this child to be your daughter, Sophia Morgan, **. Mr. Harmon has left a substantial inheritance to Sophia, contingent upon DNA verification. I would appreciate the opportunity to discuss this matter with you at your earliest convenience, **. Sincerely. Daniel Reeves, Esq. Richard Harmon. A name Eliza had forced herself not to think about for 17 years. The wealthy, married art dealer who had swept her off her feet when she was just 25 and naive. Their affair had been intense and brief, ending when Eliza discovered both his marital status and her pregnancy in the same devastating week. She had fled across the country, determined to raise her child away from the scandal and heartbreak. She'd never told Richard about the pregnancy, never sought child support, never wanted anything from the man who had lied so effortlessly to her. Her pride and her desire to protect her unborn child had driven her to create a new life built on half-truths. And now, Richard was dead, and his secrets were threatening to unravel everything. "Eliza? Are you okay?" Her co-worker, Marion, appeared in the doorway, concern etched on her kind face. Eliza quickly folded the letter. "Yes, just a bit tired. Picked up an extra shift at the diner last night." Marion frowned. "You work too hard. When was the last time you did something for yourself?" The question hung in the air. When had she last done something solely for herself? Eliza couldn't remember. Every decision for 15 years had been made with Sophia in mind. "I'm fine, really," Eliza insisted, forcing a smile. "Better get back to the desk." The afternoon dragged on, each minute feeling like an hour as Eliza's mind raced with possibilities. Should she contact the lawyer? Ignore the letter entirely? What would she tell Sophia? The questions swirled relentlessly. By the time her shift at the diner ended, Eliza was exhausted. Her feet ached, and her head throbbed with tension. The walk home through the quiet streets of Millfield offered a brief respite, the cool night air clearing her thoughts somewhat. Their apartment was dark when she arrived, save for the glow of Sophia's desk lamp visible under her door. Eliza knocked softly. "Come in," Sophia called. The room was a creative chaos that Eliza had long since stopped trying to organize. Canvases leaned against walls, sketchbooks were stacked on every surface, and art supplies spilled from bins and drawers. Sophia sat cross-legged on her bed, laptop open beside her. "How was your day?" Eliza asked, perching on the edge of the bed. "Good. I finished my college essay." Sophia's eyes shone with excitement. "And Mrs. Hernandez thinks I have a real shot at that art scholarship." Pride and anxiety twisted together in Eliza's chest. The scholarship was Sophia's best chance at attending her dream school. Without it, they'd be relying on loans and Eliza's modest savings. But now, there was potentially another option, an inheritance that could change everything. "That's amazing, sweetheart. I never doubted you for a second." Sophia tilted her head, studying her mother with the same intensity she brought to her artwork. "You look tired, Mom. Is everything okay?" For a moment, Eliza considered telling her everything right then, about Richard, about the letter, about the 15 years of deception. But the words caught in her throat. Not yet. Not until she understood what this meant for them. "Just a long day," she said instead. "Nothing to worry about." Later, alone in her room, Eliza pulled out an old shoebox from the back of her closet. Inside were the few mementos she'd allowed herself to keep from her previous life, a gallery opening invitation with Richard's name listed as the featured dealer, a dried flower from the first bouquet he'd given her, and a small sketch he'd made of her one lazy Sunday morning. She'd told herself she kept these things to remind herself never to be so foolish again, but perhaps the truth was simpler, she couldn't bring herself to erase him completely. Beneath these items was a photograph she rarely looked at. It showed a younger Eliza, radiant with the glow of early pregnancy, standing before a painting in Richard's gallery. She remembered that day clearly, it was the last time she saw him, though he didn't know about the child she carried. The painting behind her was a vibrant abstract that had captivated her, full of movement and emotion. Looking at it now, she could see echoes of Sophia's style, that same intuitive understanding of how color and form could convey feeling. The next morning, Eliza called in sick to the library, something she almost never did, and dialed the number on the lawyer's letter. "Mr. Reeves? This is Eliza Morgan." The conversation was brief but informative. Richard had discovered he had a daughter after seeing Sophia's artwork featured in a national high school competition last year. The style, so similar to his own early work, had caught his attention. A private investigator had confirmed his suspicions, though he had never reached out directly, respecting the life Eliza had built. He was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer shortly after, Mr. Reeves explained. He wanted to make amends in the only way he could. The inheritance was substantial, enough to pay for Sophia's education many times over, enough to change their lives completely. But it came with complications. The truth would have to come out, not just to Sophia but to Richard's widow and their 2 sons as well. Take some time to consider, Mr. Reeves advised. The estate can wait a few weeks for your decision. After hanging up, Eliza sat at her kitchen table, staring at nothing. The secret she'd guarded for so long was no longer entirely hers. Others knew, and soon, Sophia would have to know too. That evening, instead of going to the diner, Eliza called her manager and requested a night off. She needed this time with her daughter. A night off? What's the special occasion? Sophia asked when Eliza suggested they order pizza and watch a movie. Does there need to be one? Can't I just want to spend time with my favorite person? Sophia narrowed her eyes playfully. You're acting weird, Mom. They settled on the worn couch, sharing pizza and talking about everything and nothing. Sophia's excitement about college, her latest art project, the drama among her friends. Eliza soaked it all in, wondering how these comfortable moments would change once the truth emerged. Mom? Sophia's voice grew serious. Can I ask you something about my dad? Eliza's heart stuttered. Of course. Did he like art too? Is that where I get it from? The question hung between them. This was her opening, the perfect moment to begin unraveling the fabrication she'd maintained for so long. Yes, she said softly. He loved art. He had an incredible eye for it, could see the emotion behind every brushstroke. This much, at least, was true. I wish I could have known him, Sophia said, her voice small. I know, sweetheart. Eliza took a deep breath. There's something I need to tell you about your father. Something I should have told you a long time ago. The story spilled out then, the whirlwind romance, the devastating discovery of his marriage, her decision to leave and start fresh. She spoke of her fear and pride, her determination to create a stable life on her own terms. His name was Richard Harmon, she finally said. And he died last month, never knowing he had a daughter. Or so I thought. Sophia sat in stunned silence, her expression cycling through confusion, hurt, and anger. You lied to me. My whole life. I did, Eliza acknowledged, tears streaming down her face. I thought I was protecting you, but maybe I was protecting myself too. I was so young and hurt, and I made decisions I thought were right at the time. So he didn't die in an accident before I was born. He was alive all this time, living his life with his real family. The bitterness in Sophia's voice cut deep. You were always his real family too, even if neither of you knew it, Eliza insisted. And there's more. He discovered your existence recently, through your artwork. He left you an inheritance. Sophia stood abruptly. I need some air. Sophia, please. Not now, Mom. I can't. I need to think. The door closed behind her with a quiet click that somehow hurt more than a slam would have. Eliza sat alone, the half-eaten pizza growing cold, wondering if she'd just destroyed the most important relationship in her life. Hours later, well past midnight, Sophia returned. Her eyes were red-rimmed, but her expression was calmer. I went to the park, she said, sitting beside Eliza who had been waiting anxiously on the couch. I needed to process everything. I understand, Eliza whispered. I'm so sorry, Sophia. I'm still angry, Sophia admitted. But I've been thinking about what you said, about protecting me. I don't agree with what you did, but I think I understand why you did it. Relief washed over Eliza. That's more than I deserve. Tell me about him, Sophia requested. The real him, not the story you made up. And so Eliza did. She told Sophia about Richard's passion for art, his infectious enthusiasm when discovering new talent, the way his eyes crinkled when he laughed. She shared the good and the bad, painting as honest a picture as she could of the man who had unknowingly contributed half of Sophia's DNA. "He sounds complicated," Sophia said when Eliza finished. "Most people are," Eliza replied. "Including me. So what happens now? With this inheritance? That's up to you. We can contact the lawyer, go through the verification process. Or we can walk away, continue as we have been." Sophia was quiet for a long moment. "I think I want to know that part of my history. Not just for the money, but to understand where I come from." "Does that make sense?" "Perfect sense," Eliza assured her. The following weeks were a whirlwind of legal meetings, DNA tests, and difficult conversations. Richard's widow, Claire, was initially shocked and angry, but eventually reached out to meet Sophia. His sons, both in their 20s, were more hesitant but not hostile. The inheritance was formalized, a trust fund that would cover Sophia's education and provide financial security for her future. But more valuable than the money were the connections to her paternal family and the pieces of her identity that had been missing. One afternoon, Claire invited them to Richard's studio, which had been preserved since his death. "He would have wanted you to see it," she told Sophia. "When he discovered who you were, he collected every piece of your work he could find. He was so proud, though he never got to tell you." The studio was a large, light-filled space, walls covered with paintings, some Richard's own work, others by artists he had championed. And there, on one wall, was a collection of Sophia's pieces, carefully framed and displayed with obvious care. "He called this his legacy wall," Claire explained. "Said his greatest contribution to the art world might be the talent he passed on without knowing it." Tears filled Sophia's eyes as she stood before her own work, seeing it through new eyes, her father's eyes. Later, as they walked home together, Sophia linked her arm through Eliza's. "Thank you for telling me the truth, Mom. Even though it was hard. I should have done it sooner," Eliza admitted. "Maybe. But we're here now." Sophia squeezed her arm. "And I understand better now why you made the choices you did. You were trying to give me stability, to protect me from feeling like an afterthought in someone's life." "You were never an afterthought in mine," Eliza said fiercely. "You were always the main story." 6 months later, as Sophia prepared to leave for college, her tuition fully covered by the trust fund, Eliza found herself packing up the last of her daughter's art supplies. "Leave the easel," Sophia instructed, entering the room with a stack of books. "I want it to be here when I come home for breaks." Home. Despite everything, their small apartment was still home. "I've been thinking," Eliza said, carefully wrapping a set of brushes. "Maybe it's time for me to pursue something for myself too." "Like what?" "I've applied to the community college. Art history courses." Eliza smiled shyly. "I always loved it, even before I met your father. It got lost somewhere along the way." Sophia's face lit up. "Mom, that's amazing. We could be college students together." "Well, hardly together. You'll be 300 miles away at a prestigious university, and I'll be taking night classes after work." "Still," Sophia insisted, "it's perfect." That night, after Sophia had gone out with friends, Eliza sat alone in the quiet apartment. The letter that had changed everything was tucked away in her drawer now, its purpose served. The secret was out, the truth acknowledged, and somehow, they had emerged stronger. She thought about the journey of the past 15 years, the sacrifices, the half-truths, the constant juggling act of single motherhood. She had made mistakes, yes, but she had also created a foundation of love strong enough to withstand the revelation of her deepest secret. Tomorrow, she would help her daughter pack the car for college. Sophia would embark on her own journey, armed with both talent and opportunity. And Eliza would begin a new chapter too, one where she wasn't defined solely by motherhood or by past.